The purpose of today is to talk about transitioning to become a project manager. And so I'm Keith Mathis, and so I've been doing this for 30 years, training project managers all over the country. I am an assistant professor for grad students in the area of project management, and I also am a doctoral chair. Working with people who are working on their doctorate in leadership and project management. And so I wanted to give you some ideas here. Project management has grown so much, and it's projected to grow, continue to grow in the next several years. And I know many people, just from watching where people are writing in about different information, they're looking to see how to make that transition. They're wanting to go to project management, which I think is exciting because being a project manager, there's almost every industry does projects, and almost every industry is looking for project managers. All you have to do is get on Indeed, and you have an opportunity to be able to see the scores of project managers that people are looking for. Also, since COVID has happened, one of the things that's interesting is that you have noticed probably all the remote project managers all over the world. So they're allowing you to be able to work someplace, to work from home and be able to work for them anywhere in the world. So that's an exciting thing as well. So as we look and talk about transitioning to become a project manager, let's focus on a couple of things. And let me give you some ideas on some suggestions that might help you in those early stages. So the overview of what we're going to talk about today. First off, we're going to talk about how to adjust your resume so that you will be noticed by somebody who's trying to hire a project manager. And I'm focusing this first piece really on how do you get noticed when you really don't have a ton of experience. So we're not talking about the person who's got, 10 years experience or 8 years experience in project management. Those folks are going to be able to present themselves okay. What we're talking about is the person who has maybe just a couple of years of experience or maybe just a few months in project management, and you're trying to go ahead and make that transition. You kind of been doing projects on the side at your current company, just kind of hit and miss with your current employer. We're going to talk about creating a list of projects to be able to justify some of the experience you have, and then preparing for the interview, and also talking about training in project management topics and how to be able to use that to help you on your resume to be able to show that this is something that you're really wanting to do with people who are going to be hiring project managers. So let's start off with a couple of ideas here for you. Benefits of transitioning to project management. Okay, so when we talk about transitioning to project management, this course or this today, I want to give you some direction on considering the expanse of project management. Project management is a field that people will be in for their entire career, and they have such a demand for project managers. So if you're someone who can be organized and someone who can communicate and somebody who can work in a team and run teams, I mean, those are going to be the main skills that we're talking about in being able to work in that project and be a person of truth when you're working with your customer to build that high trust element. It's going to be really phenomenal career choice for you. Also, being able to support begin building support for projects. We'll talk about that because the challenge, and like I said, the purpose for this course is for those of you who don't have that background yet. We're going to talk about learning some basic project vocabulary where you can get free training that's going to help you make some of that transition, and then understanding the strengths and weaknesses of some certifications. And so before I get off of here, I want to talk about 3 certifications that require very minimum amount of experience to be able to allow you to be able to show that you're wanting to really go in that direction. So here's who we are. This is our 30th year in teaching project management across North America. This is our 30th year. We are a woman-owned business based out of Springfield, Missouri, and so we train PMP exam prep courses as well as about 45 other courses in project management. 22 years we've been online, and 8 years we've been doing virtual classes like what we're looking at today. And so I've already told you who I am. I'm Keith Mathis. So it's good to have you here. I appreciate you being part of this. I know there's several hundred that are signed up to be part of this today, either through this or through the replay. So it's good to have all of you on here and to be part of this. All right, so what does a project manager do? First off, Project managers, a lot of things can be classified as projects that might not be formally a project that you're thinking about in your mind. And so a project manager is going to define the project scope. They're going to prioritize activities to get that scope of work done. They're going to motivate and work with the team. They're going to communicate and manage project goals. They're going to create the proper amount of project documentation, and they're going to facilitate project status meetings so management knows what's going on, and they're going to control budgets and schedules for completion. Now, depending on the organization and depending on the size of the project and you know where you are in that organization, obviously all of this could be much more substantial or much less, depending on what your role is. Obviously, when you're starting off in a project, you're probably assisting someone who's running a project, or you're a team member, and that's okay. Team members are fine. It's still experience on a project. But when you start looking at all the possibilities for a project manager to be able to work on a project and to be able to work for that organization, even if you work for an organization for a few years to get the experience and move someplace else, to be able to leverage that experience, that's a possibility for you as well. But this is what we're talking about with running a project. Now, for many of you, you maybe have run projects, but you didn't call it the right things. That's how I started years ago. I was a pastor, and we did building projects, and so we didn't call it the right stuff, but we definitely used the project management processes and raising the money to build the buildings, or in building the buildings, or tracking the vendor or something like that. And so you might be in that same case in doing something like that, where you're running projects and maybe it's kind of unofficial. You might be doing it with an Excel sheet and a calendar and some post-it notes and all these kind of things. And so it might not be as formal as what we're talking about, but that doesn't keep you from being able to go in that particular direction. So when we talk about project management delivery methods, let's talk about it from a couple of different ways. One of the things I want to be specific about today is I want to talk about adjusting your resume so that you at least get noticed and maybe get an interview from the use of your resume. And the reason I say that is because your resume needs to look like a project manager's resume and have some key project management stuff. Sometimes people just want to throw their resume over the wall, and that's what you don't want to do. You'll waste a lot of time doing that. We want to talk about preparing for a project management interview. There's going to be a lot of terminology and lingo that comes up in a project management interview. So if you don't take training, and I'll tell you where to get that free, if you don't take the training, then you're not going to know about the lingo. And so what happens is you're going to mess up on the interview because they're talking about something and you're going to be clueless because they're using a project term. And then we want to talk about in that PM training, where to be able to pick up your training, how to be able to expand that training as you go along and as you continue to grow as a project manager. So let's start off with some foundational pieces. The resume is a very important document. Now, don't blow this off, okay? A lot of times people think, well, my resume looks good, and it might look great, but there's a couple of things I want to mention to you. Your resume is your marketing tool to get you from the position you are right now over to being a project manager. And so it's got to look and sound enough like a project manager for someone to look at it, even if you don't have a lot of experience, to think that they're willing to bring you in with that level of experience that you have and start training you and teaching you and expanding those skills. And so we're talking about creating some things that will help you. So let's start off with the first thing. For an example, the projects you have run in the past, you need to create a page of projects that you have already run. Personal projects, projects for nonprofit, mission trips that you have put together, if you've put together the soccer league for the city, all of those are components of project management. Put everything together that you think that you have done for projects, even if you didn't call it the right stuff. Now, that's not necessarily going to go on your resume, but it will give you something to talk about and to justify during the interview. And then when we start talking about the interview in just a moment here, we're going to talk about how to adjust it so it focuses on project management. And then one of the things I want to talk about is so that you can adjust the terminology and include some major topic terminology in that resume so that when people are reading it, it sounds like you're one of them. You're a project manager, or because you've been a project team member or whatever. And so it's going to include some major topics, for an example, schedule, budget, requirements, what you have done on those projects. The reason why you want to do this is because once somebody starts talking to you about projects, They can handle that you've worked on projects that are not exactly like what they're hiring you for, but they do want you to have the concepts and the processes down in your head of what's going on. And you can do a lot of this with the current job you have to be able to make that transition. If you're not running projects or very many projects with your current job, you can make that transition and jump through some hoops and get everything ready to be able to make that transition down the road here. So some people today, when they talk about resumes, and you'll see this with a lot of human resource people, if you look at the average resume, one of the frustrating things is all the resumes have a tendency to look alike. They've become so watered down to where they don't have enough information. You can't really tell a lot of difference from one person to the next. And that's not what you're wanting to have happen with your resume. Your resume, you're wanting it to be that marketing tool to get you a call. That's the purpose for it, for you to win that employer over in that interview. And so this is a marketing tool. So you're not wanting it to be so watered down to where this thing doesn't have any information or nobody's going to call you. All you have to do, if you're looking for work right now and trying to make a change right now, look and see how many calls you're getting with your current resume. If the answer is not much, then that answers the question of what I'm talking about here and answers the detail. You want to be a marketing tool. So you want to create a page of projects to accompany the resume in some cases, especially if you're applying online, to where you can justify some of the projects you've done. So for an example, here's 4 things that many people will look at because you want to present the right side: what your role was in the project, how long the project was, sometimes if the budget was something you tracked, what the budget was, and a summary of the duties of what you did there. Now, one of the things you'll notice here is this is also some of the documentation that you're going to be doing for some of your certifications that you're going to be trying to jump through the hoops to start getting. And some of these certifications, the requirement is relatively low, and you can jump through the hoops relatively easy and justify some things on your with some of these projects to be able to justify that certification. So I'll show you what I'm talking about with that in a moment. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's take a sample resume. So we've got a sample resume, and you'll notice here that you have your name, and then notice that underneath it I went with education and certifications. Now, one of the reasons I have done this, and many HR people would say, well, you don't want to do that. You want to put other things there. I look at that as a bunch of silliness because you're trying to market yourself to a particular person. And so this is actually the resume I use for speaking with the universities and teaching for universities. And so why do I emphasize education and certifications? Because it shows the expertise I have, and it's making it look as good as it possibly can before they ever look at anything else. So you'll notice that I have some of the certifications listed there. You will probably want to have something like that as you get your certifications, and especially if you have education along with it as well, but at least your certifications. Your certifications that I have, and of course I've listed some of those because you've got project management certifications, and so you automatically start looking like someone that they're looking for. And don't kid yourself about certifications. I hear people say, well, I've got 30 years of experience, and so people want that more than certification. That in the past, that was absolutely true. Today, certifications rule. You will see someone with a 30-year experience be trumped by somebody with 10 years experience in a certification. So you at least need to consider this, and don't blow this off thinking, well, I've got all this experience. So at least consider what I'm getting ready to mention to you. So obviously, let me just show you something right here in the resume that I'm showing you here. So you'll notice in the middle there, I've got a PMP certification. For those of you who are moving over to project management, the PMP is kind of the Cadillac credential with Project Management Institute. And so when the PMP is really a difficult test, it is a test that you have to go through a boot camp, and you have to have 3 years of experience to be able to do this. So you might not be there yet, but that's going to be a direction you're going to be wanting to go, because that PMP is going to justify a lot of things in what you should know and what the rigor is that you have paid to be able to jump through those hoops. So you're not at where you need to be for the PMP. So that's not the credential you want to go after in the beginning, because that's looked at as a more experienced project manager. But that is a credential you're going to want to look at. The Agile Certified Professional is also a certification that a lot of times people will go after, because one's going to be on traditional, one's going to be on the Agile. But you can do two other certifications that I'll talk to you about in just a second that are much more of an entry-level certification that can justify to the employer that you understand traditional a little bit and you understand the Agile or the Scrum certifications later. So what I'm talking about here is that you're wanting to present your resume as and look at it through the eyes of a marketer, not as somebody who's a human resource manager, because you're really wanting to make this look like a marketing tool. Now, you might talk to a human resource manager and they say, I would throw this out first thing. I will tell you, I've been hired a lot with the way I've structured this resume, because I've structured it as a marketer, not as an HR person. The other thing that will help you down the road here is going to be making creating a page of your certifications. Now, right now you don't have any, or they might be minimal. So when we talk in a moment, we're going to talk about three of these, three certifications that you'll be able to have. And so you will find yourself uploading those to Indeed and uploading those to many of your applications. And so with your list of certifications, here's what it does two things. First off, you have all of your dates and all of your information all on one page of all your certifications. Second thing it does is when you are able to upload it with a PDF with your resume, it immediately allows that employer to scan down through there to see, are you checking the boxes of experience and certifications that they're wanting. And here's why. Many people who will hire someone who's certified will actually be able to charge more for that consultant working with the client. Now, maybe not with these first three credentials, because they're going to be more entry-level credentials that we're going to talk about. But by the time you get to the PMP credential, many times they're charging more for your services. So that's one of the reasons why this is a good thing for you to be able to show. All right, so let's say you're going to create your sample project list. It's going to help you in documentation for your projects, for your certifications down the road, but it's going to help you even in talking to the customer. So what your project title is, what's your duration, what was your role. Now, if your role is a team member or project lead or a tester or even a business analyst, all of those still have components to the project management field. And it's a field that's still a great field to be able to make that transition. People see that as still under that umbrella. And then you'll give a summary of the project. And so I took a project here that a guy was talking about in our class, and he did a personal project, and he qualified for his PMP, and this was one of his projects. But he created 47 teams for children from the ages of 4 to 12 for the city every summer. And it was a huge, monstrous project, and he did it as a volunteer. So this wasn't even a professional project. This was something that he volunteered to do. But he documented it, and he was the project manager who created it. He's the one who managed it all through the summer, and he was the one the brainchild of it, and he ran it with project management software. And so this was a monster project, and he used this to complete his documentation for his PMP certification. There might be a summary of the project management duties you did. And so you want to get very specific there to where you planned it, or you were working with the vendor and you were monitoring the vendor that they complied with the contract, or whatever those cases are. But you're wanting to build the case that you understand what the steps and what the components of project management are going to be. Because understand, you've got somebody looking at this and they're looking to see, what do you bring to the table that some other candidate doesn't automatically bring? So that's one of the parts there. All right, so let's say you get your resume together and you get these certifications. I'm going to talk about the certifications in a moment that are entry-level certifications that will help you. So how do you get ready for the interview? First off, one of the things that would help you is to create a list of the top 25 interview questions for project managers. Now, the challenge that you'll have for those of you who don't have much experience is that these interview questions are going to have all the lingo in it. They're going to talk about risk, and they're going to talk about crashing a project. They'll talk about all kinds of things. So you want to list 25 questions that you think they're going to ask you and get prepared to answer those. Now, when you're answering them, you're not going to be reading those answers. You're going to answer them, verbally, face to face, like we're doing right now. But by creating answers for those, you're going to be able to understand understand that whatever they ask you is going to be a combination of either that question itself or a couple of those questions merged together. And so you're going to be able to answer it because you've already thought through that. Include questions on lack of experience. If they ask you about your lack of experience or limited project knowledge, what would you say? And one of the easiest things for you to be able to come back with is, as you notice, I picked up a couple of the entry-level certifications, and I've got project management experience on the personal side, but I'm really wanting to expand those skills so that on the professional side and move more into mainstream project management. And so for someone who's already called you for an interview, that's probably going to make a lot of sense to them because they already know you don't have a lot of experience. They knew that when they saw the resume, and yet you're sitting there for an interview. So you're really justifying what it is that they're saying. Determine what is the reason for a job change, and that might even be a easy statement. The job I'm currently in, I think they're going to be phasing it out. This job that I'm moving to with project management, I've always wanted to be in that field, and this is what I'm excited about. Wordsmith how to answer some of these things, because once again, you're going to be using project management lingo as you're giving information back. So play with the phrases, the wording, determine the most positive way to respond. All of these components will make sense to the person interviewing you. But once again, this is preparation. So this is not something you're carrying in. You don't have notes sitting on the table or any of these kind of things. These are going to be things that you're just going to be prepared to do. Practice the questions with a friend, and anticipate a team interview at some point on some of these. It's not uncommon for you to have team interviews because you're going to be serving on a team. So different people could be asking different types of questions on several different topics. And so, conduct it in a very easy manner. You look at the person talking with them, you thank them for what they've asked you, or smile. You be very relaxed with them, because once again, in a team interview, a lot of times the team members will say whether or not they're wanting to hire you or bring you in to work with them on that project. They're looking to see, do you fit the culture? Are you going to be a good fit? The other thing that will help you here is to demonstrate that you have participated in training. So a lot of times when you're trying to make the transition, you maybe don't have a lot of money. And so you're looking, okay, how can I transition and have this training when I really can't afford a lot of training to do this? So one of the easiest things for you to do is to be able to listen to webinars on PM topics. And so webinars you can pick up from some qualified people to be able to get you there. So let's talk about the webinar for a moment. If you on our site, we have 36 hours of project management webinars that's free for you to go to. And so what I would do to show that I was getting training in this area, to really, give some substance to what we're talking about, is every webinar I would just list a heading training, and I would just list every webinar that I had watched. And so as a person's looking at that piece of your resume, they can see that you've picked up 35 different trainings on project management. The other thing that will help you is a book called PMBOK. And this is what the current PMBOK looks like, just so you can see it. And so this is PMBOK's 7th edition. To be able to pick you up a book like this and read it, this is looked at as the standard for project management worldwide. And so by doing that and using that, this is going to put you into the world of project management. And the other thing it might do is that in the interview questions, they might actually ask you about PMBOK, something about PMBOK. So to order that from Amazon and to read through that, that's going to give you some of the lingo. And so now you're starting to frame everything in the field of PMBOK or in the field of project management training. And so that takes you in that direction. Because project management is shaped into two different camps, you've got your traditional, which is waterfall is what they will call it, and then you've got your agile side, which Scrum is the biggest component of agile. You want to make sure that you've read articles, and you can pull that up just from searching Google on both of those. Most organizations have projects either in traditional or on the agile side, and some will have hybrids on both of those. But it's not uncommon for them to talk to you about both, because they're looking to see what have you done. And so the waterfall type is very traditional, it's very structured, it's very locked in on what we're doing because it's a command and control type of setting. And then agile is very much more loose, because you're developing a product or you're developing software or whatever the case may be. And so you want it to be very loose to be able to make it fluid for creativity. So you want to be able to read articles on both of those, and that way you understand the concepts. And then if you've not heard of Harold Kersner. Kersner is just a big guru in project management. He has written more books that are used at the graduate and doctoral level for educating people in a degree in project management. So Kersner is a big dog, and so you can find a used book on Kersner on Amazon, which will cut the price down to almost nothing. And Kersner is really a good it's like a textbook. I mean, that's really what it is on project management. But these few resources here will get you into that arena to where you're starting to talk and think about all of these things and the way that a project manager would be talking about them. All right, so why does the training help you? Well, the training shows that you already are trying to pick up experience over in that area. Now, if you get hired by certain people, they will put some training into you, but for you to be able to walk in with 35 hours of project management training, that might be more training than they've put into their people in several years. And so that's going to give some substance to where you're really wanting to move in that direction. So that they're weighing, okay, they've got a lot of training, but not a lot of experience, but that they will be open many times to try to give you a shot at that job because of that. So webinars provide about a 50-minute deep dive into some type of project management topic. And that's pretty much what we do. We do one a month even now. And so you're able to tap in, watch it, and it's going to be very specific on that topic. And so that way you'll have a fluid understanding of what's going on. The topics will include both waterfall and agile types. So that way, depending on what you're being asked, you would have already had some training on both of those. But I would list my training topic and just put in 1 hour out beside it so that you can list those. That would justify some of this. Subjects in training are not hot topics for project management necessarily. Some would be hotter topics than others, but the point is that when you're interviewing, you need some of that solid content to be able to say some of that verbiage back in your interview. And you do need that knowledge for project management, not just for the interview. I mean, I'm speaking about the interview, but you're going to need some of that because you're going to need those concepts when you're working on some of these things once you get your job. And you're going to be sending this resume and out and these with these certifications on it to a lot of folks. I mean, if you get on Indeed tonight and you search remote project managers, you will be stunned how many people are looking for remote project managers around the world. Now, that's assuming you're wanting to work from home. If you want to work from home and punch in project management positions, you will be astounded. There's a gazillion of them. So you're wanting to send these out and start trying to generate let those resumes generate interviews for you. Also, take notes on the various topics. When you're going through the training, make some notes because that's going to help you. That repetition is going to help you be able to remember this, and it's going to help you be able to hang on to that. Create questions on the topics that could be asked. Think about it from the aspect of the interviewer. What could they ask me about risk? Could they ask me about fast tracking a project? What could they ask me about agile? What could they ask me about change order? I mean, all of those are common topics that happen in project management and can happen also in your interview. To help with the training, like I said, there are 24, I'm showing 24 project management topics. I counted them actually and didn't change the slide, and I meant to do this. I've got actually 35 on the site right now. And so you have an opportunity to tap in there and start watching those. And so those are going to be free to you. All you have to do is go to our site and you'll be able to watch any of them that you'd like. Okay, so listing the training topics on the resume, like we talked about, the training topics need to be focused on project management. All of ours will be, and the range of topics are both traditional and agile, and so that's going to be good for you because once again, you might be interviewed by an organization that does both, some traditional projects and some agile and some hybrid. And so for you to be able to have an understanding of both, and nobody uses traditional 100% traditional, and nobody uses agile or Scrum 100% the way it's talked about. And so that organization that you're working with might be using both to do different things with their projects. And so you're coming in with an understanding of both of those. So what kind of industries use project management? Oh my gosh, everybody. product development, technology, operations, healthcare, manufacturing, construction, everybody. I have just seen in the last 3 years, pharmaceutical companies are putting more and more people into project management training because, once again, it's a project. Running a drug, even through the process to be able to get FDA approval and all of those type of things, it is a project. So you want to be able to pick up those skills, and I think it's a phenomenal industry for you to be able to get in. Now, what's the strength of using working with us? Several things will help you with us. First off, we have prepared people since 2006 for the PMP certification. So we've run several thousand through getting their certification. So any certification that you can connect with us on, we know how to get you through it. We get tons of people through this. Right now, we're running about 97% first-time passing rate on our PMP certification, which is just an extremely high. We run a 99% out of 3 tests, and then we do coaching after the boot camp to help people get through their tests. So if you're getting ready to do a PMP, once you hit that 36 months of experience, then you can connect with us, and we do a mastermind group. I'll talk to you about in a moment. Free mastermind group for you to tap into. So let's talk about the first credential that is a lower credential, but it shows that you're going in the direction of project management. And it's called the CAPM. This is a Certified Associate Project Manager. Now, this certification is a testing certification, but it doesn't require a lot of experience. And so you have to have 21 hours of training, but you're going to have more than 21 hours of training if you listen to all 35 of those webinars that I have on my site. So you'll have 35 hours of training. And so what they do is it is testing, and we run you through as a CAPM. We take you through our PMP boot camp for this. And the reason is because we've had 100% passing rate for anybody who's done it through our PMP boot camp. The flip side of that, if you are close to getting your 3 years of experience for your project management position, then you've already got the boot camp under your belt. And so many people will actually come back and refresh themselves a little bit and be able to take that PMP. And so if they do it within a year, that's the people we're talking about. If not, then if it goes several years, then you're going to need to come back to a boot camp to get your PMP. But CAPM requires very little experience from you. It's looked at as an entry-level certification. But on the flip side, somebody who's looking at a resume will see a Certified Associate Project Manager, and if they understand the certifications, they understand that you're trying to get into that pipeline, and you're showing them that you understand that PMI is one of the big dogs in project management, and this is one of the entry-level certifications, but it does give you that level of credibility. So the education for this is you can have high school diploma or college, either one, 23 hours of formal education. Every one of the webinars will give you 1 hour. So you have 35 of those already on our site. And so they're not asking for much experience, but it's going to give some credibility of what you're wanting to do. Let me show you a second credential that is on the minimum side, and this is a Certified Scrum Master. And so a CSM, and this is through Scrum Alliance, allows you an opportunity to be able to pick up this certification with a minimal amount of experience, and yet it gives some credibility. Now, a Scrum Master is putting you over on the Agile side, over on that Scrum side. Scrum is the most popular Agile type of methodology, and so it's very, very popular. If you're working on products, if you're working on software, any of those things, people are picking up their Scrum certifications. This one is very minimal. So this is the first. There's 3 different levels of Scrum Master, and this is the lowest level, very minimum amount of experience. And so you'd be able to pick that up. That would be able to be on your resume as well. So with the Scrum Master, the Certified Scrum Master certification, it's an introductory course, requires attending about a 14 or a 16-hour class and taking an open book test. We don't offer this certification. This is done by others. We hope to offer this at the end of 2023, but we don't offer this right now, but there are others around the country who do. And so in 2 days, you'd be able to pick up this certification and have that on your resume. The Certified Scrum The other entry level certification is going to be the Certified Scrum Product Owner certification. So that's the entry level on the other side. So you've got Scrum Master and you've got Product Owner. The Product Owner is the person who is in charge of realigning or regrooming the features that are going to be done in that project. And so this is the entry level on the other side. So you have 3 Product Owner certifications, 3 Scrum Master certifications. So this is the entry level on that side. Once again, the requirements for this is relatively small. The huge amounts of growth are projected on in all of these areas of Scrum, something like 20 to 24%, depending on who you're reading. And so this is, once again, is the same type of thing. You've got a 14 to 16 hour class in which you would be able to certify in just a couple of days. Most of these 2-day certs allow you to be able to attend. You can attend them remotely. And then what happens is you're being able to be certified. So there's 3 certifications that are all entry level that would give some credibility to you in being able to present something on your resume. So you'd have a Scrum Master, certified Scrum Master, certified Product Owner, and you could have the Associate Project Management certification from PMI. 2 different companies, 2 different organizations, but you'd be able to have 3 certifications just when you start sending your resume out. And so when you do, as you start sending that out, as people are looking at this, they understand what these certifications are. So transitioning. So let's talk about a couple of things. First off, if you want to make the transition, then you have to create a project manager resume is really what you're having to do. So change the resume so it's project management focused. And so you create a list of personal and professional projects to be able to justify that. Research these certifications that I'm talking to you about, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They're entry-level certifications, and then begin earning them. And you say, wow, it's going to cost me a little bit of money. It is going to take you, cost you a little bit of money, but that will give you 3 certifications that you will be able then to put on that resume if you're really wanting to make that change. And so you're showing that. You apply for the job and then prepare for the interview. And so once you get these on here, if you send your resume out to all these people telling them you're wanting to make the transition, you might get some interviews, but the problem is that you haven't built that resume to be able to support it and make people think that you're really a project manager. You're somebody who's wanting a different job. Now, another thing that will help you just to keep in mind that as you get ready to start off, in the industry, sometimes you'll be able to pick a place. Some places will actually give entry-level people even a little bit more preference because of the salary. The salaries will normally be a little bit lower, and that is state government. State government is notorious for hiring entry-level people and training them. And then, of course, they know those folks are going to go after a few years. Their salaries are a little bit lower, but a lot of times they're very willing to hire an entry-level person. And so that's very much one of the places I would encourage you to look at. Once you get your two or three certifications, start sending it out anywhere, but especially to state organizations, and see if you can't land something there. Because in 2 years, you're going to have enough to be able to show that you're a project manager for the PMP, and the PMP credential on top of everything else you have will really give you some substance there. So just a suggestion for you, just something for you to consider. All right, so types of project positions. Let's talk about a couple of these. First off, on-site project manager. Now, on-site project manager means we're going to work every day. Obviously, we're on site. We see the team. We're working with the project on site. We're working with the customer. We're maybe working with a vendor. So it's going to be face-to-face with the customer, the team, the sponsor. You're attending meetings throughout the day. You're verifying the project's progressing. We're there. The second one, though, that is becoming more prominent today, and it has been since COVID, is the remote or virtual project manager. Those are opening up like crazy everywhere. So do the search on Indeed for remote project manager, and you'll see what we're talking about. And so you work virtually with the customer, the team, the project sponsor, and you attend meetings virtually throughout the day. You verify the project's progressing just like you would. All the work you're doing is just like as if you were there, but you're doing it through Zoom, or you're doing it through some type of video conferencing system to be able to follow up with them. So it's not like you're just sitting at home. You're going to be in meetings all day doing what we're doing right now, talking to people. But the point is, you could be in Missouri working with a company that's in Alaska. Now, let me give you an example of this. I just finished up a training a few weeks ago with Kansas. And so I had a guy down in Texas who's running a project in Kansas, doing it all virtually. I had a lady who her and her husband travel in a travel trailer, and she runs a project in Kansas. Kansas has gotten opened up to where they are going after remote project managers for some of their projects. Now, it won't work on all of them, you know what I'm saying, but it will work in many cases. And so even as I was training these folks in Kansas, here were 2 remote project managers, even for something here in the Midwest. So you're going to see more and more of this open up as people start looking for someone to work in those areas. Now, let me give you an example of some upcoming things if you want to take a look at some of this. So first off, for those of you who are trying to get your CAPM, Associate Project Manager, we take you through the PMP boot camp. That way, it's 4 days, it's heavy duty, no doubt about it, but the test you're going to take will not be the PMP test, you'll take the CAPM. And so this is going to be a much more substantial training than what you need, but it's going to be good for you because it'll help prepare you also for that next level, which will be your PMP when you finally do qualify for that. And so here are the dates. We do PMP boot camps every other month, starting in February all the way through December. And so those are the dates for any of those. And so you have an opportunity to sign up for those. The other thing that we will have that might help you too, and this is free, this is our mastermind group. Our mastermind group is set up and it's really focused for the PMP mastermind group to help people get their documentation and their application in so that so getting them ready to take the PMP boot camp and apply for the PMP. So we do 3 of those for free. It's 5 days in length, but you're not attending 5 days. You really only have about an hour's worth of work each day. And so the way this works is a lot of it is video driven in the sense that you'll do something every day and you'll watch a video of what to do. And so you'll start getting all of your projects in order and so that you're ready to apply. I do two live Zoom calls for each PMP mastermind group so that people can ask any question that they have. And the other thing that we do for the mastermind group is that in each of these, we give away 1 free PMP boot camp. So in January, there'll be a person who will attend the PMP boot camp for free. We'll have 1 in May and 1 in September. So 3 people each year are going to a boot camp on us because they've won it in one of these mastermind groups. And so that would give you an option to be able to do this. And then we do our webinars every month, and that would allow you to continue to build on this. In January, we're talking about negotiating change orders, agreements, and better project team decisions. And so that's going to be on the 26th, 10 o'clock. And so all you have to do is sign up for that. And so you'll be able to get that. And if you're not there at 10 o'clock in the morning, you get a replay from Kim by a link. So you have an opportunity to be able to see that. And so that's what's on our site. We got 35 of them now for you to be able to watch. So let me stop right here. We've got just about 15 minutes here, and let me stop right here and open this up for some questions and give you an opportunity to ask some questions if you'd like. Any questions that you might have? Anyone? Anybody? Do you need a specific bachelor's degree? No, I don't think so. I believe at PMI, all they require is a bachelor's degree. If I understood your question correctly, in other words, if you had a bachelor's in science compared to a bachelor's in business, no, I think that just as long as you have a bachelor's degree, that's going to do it. Somebody else?
Yeah, Keith, do you guys offer like that pass guarantee type program for the Certified Associate Project Management certification?
We could, yeah, we could. We've never had anybody fail that one because you're going through the PMP boot camp is really what you're going through with us, and so you're really over prepared for that one. But we do offer that if you need that when you buy it, you can buy it with a guarantee, and it would have it with it.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Is a role of business analyst a good position to transition into project management? The role of a business analyst is a great combination. A BA is a great role too, but a lot of times if you don't have a BA, the project manager or somebody on the team's having to do the BA position. I mean, you understand what I'm talking about. So if you are a BA, then being able, you can justify some of the work you've done on projects by being a business analyst. But that's a great role to move over into that. And of course, the monster size projects will normally a lot of times have a BA working on it with the project manager. But if you don't have a BA, you're doing that work as a project manager, or someone on the team's having to interview the customer and help gather the requirements and represent the customer. So I think it's a great role. Somebody else? You finish the PMP boot camp and we'll take the PMP exam. Would it be beneficial to also have CAPM? Is not beneficial to you if you have the PMP, not at all. Because if you have the PMP, you've kind of got the Cadillac credential from PMI, and CAPM would be looked at as a much lesser credential. So I wouldn't worry about CAPM if you've got the PMP. Now, what I would tell you to do with your PMP, now that you've got your PMP, look at your Scrum certifications, because that way, because you might stay at the organization you're at forever, but today we have to have options, and you're going to be in that situation. And if the economy goes south, layoffs will go up. You know how that is, and so you want options. But your Agile and Scrum certifications would be something that you ought to look at. Anybody else? I have years of leadership, including lots of experience running departments and people. I am just not sure how to apply this to PM. You have to kind of think through what you did on some of that. For an example, if you were doing strategic planning, that's project management. If you were designing, for an example, I just worked with some of the guys in one of our PMP classes to help him with his application. He designed machines, if that makes sense. And so he was actually working in a manufacturing plant, and his piece was he was designing the machines, and he was saying, how does that work? Well, designing that machine is very much project management. He would design the machine, then they would take it out into the manufacturing and test it, and then they would then turn around, make the adjustments and stuff. And so his part of it could very easily be turned into that. And so if you're running departments and different things, not everything would necessarily be a project. I know what if I'm understanding what you did, but there would probably be pieces of it that we'd be able to do that. So if you are like, for an example, if you were adding on a new addition and putting new manufacturing plant or a new manufacturing section onto the end of the plant, and you were getting it ready, all of that would be project management. So because you do pieces of that, I bet. So we might be able to find enough for that. Let me see what else. Hold on just a second. I got a couple more. I'm a QA engineer in an Agile environment, would like to switch to PM, but I don't have PM opportunity at work. I just completed an Econal PM certification. What else would I have to do? Okay, so you're already in the Agile field, and so and you're a QA engineer in the Agile field. So one of the things I would suggest to you, you're already set up for it, is to go ahead and knock your Scrum certifications out, knock a couple of those out, and then go ahead. Your QA, as a QA engineer, I bet you if you've done it 3 years, I bet you could qualify for the PMP, because QA, your type of project though would just be quality, if that makes sense. So you're only doing the quality project. You're not doing the whole project. You're just doing the quality piece of that project, and so you would structure it like that. Let me see if anybody else says anything. So if that makes sense, Aletha is who wrote that. So if that makes sense to you. How much does it cost to complete the PMP certification? If you go through the PMP mastermind group, then you get the lowest price, which is $15.50. If you just did an early bird, it'd be like $22.50. The normal price is $28.50. So you'd want to go through the mastermind group, and plus it'd help kind of fill in some of the information that you might not have, and that will be $15.50. And that does have a guarantee for the PMP. Let me see other questions here. Is there a business analyst, QA? Yeah, you do have to have a bachelor's degree for the PMP and to do it with 36 months. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, it's 60 months to qualify for the PMP. You have 7 years at a QA. I think if you've got 7 years, I would probably go after the PMP, not the CAPM. Because if you've got 7 years as a QA, I think you'd be able to structure that and try and get it through the hoops. And I think you'd be able to qualify with that. You might have to wordsmith it a little bit to make sure whoever's looking at it understands what you did. Bachelor's in engineering, yeah. So your bachelor's degree will be fine. You've got the bachelor's in 36 months is what you're needing. And so those would be quality projects is what you'd work on. Other questions? Now here's something for you to know, that one of the things that we do, if you decide to work on a PMP, the emphasis today was really, thinking about people who are trying to make that transition. But if you're wanting to work on the PMP, when we start working with you, I mean, we even have people turn their application when they're trying to submit their application into a PDF, and I even look at it before they even send it in, and we kind of coach you on wording and verbiage and stuff like that. So you can put all that, you'll have all of that access to you as well if needed. So that will help you a little bit. Any other questions from anybody? Do we have to start doing the actual PM work at work if I need to apply for the PMP? Okay, so it all depends on what you're bringing to the table on the PMP. If you've got 36 months of project management experience, now, so let me chase a rabbit and kind of plug it in here and see if this helps. So I knew a guy who did not, he worked at a job where he was basically just had a job, okay? But he had rehabbed houses for a lot of years. He was able to apply for his PMP from the houses he rehabbed at night and on the weekends. So his actual professional job, he never even put into any of the application, because what he was counting, what was his project side, was actually the rehabbing of the houses. So he'd get off work at 4 in the afternoon, and he and another guy, they were rehabbing a house. So they'd count their house, and then they would turn around on the weekends and work on it. So I think that's what you're asking right there. But anyway, if not, you can ask it a different way maybe, and I'll answer it. But he never even put in his real job. He put in the rehab jobs that they were doing. Anybody else? Seven years. Okay, I think here comes another one. Who decides what PM work qualifies as PM work? Okay, that's a good question, because when you apply for the PMP, you'll fill out the application. They look at it when it comes in, and so they can audit you. And so one type of audit is just random audit. So if I have 10 people in my class, one's going to be audited probably for sure. But if you mess the application up bad enough, you're going to be audited too. So you do have them, they're looking to see, do you fit the box? And so that's one of the reasons why we talk about the lingo. You want to make sure you're using all the project management, lingo and terminology, because somebody's trying to put you into that box. And we have a good feel of it. We've done it for so long that when we're reading it, we have a good feel on whether that's going to go. But it doesn't. We don't catch everyone. I had a guy just this year who I looked at his stuff. It looked good, but they audited him, and so I didn't think too much about it. And he sent his stuff in, but then they told him that he didn't qualify. So when he sent it back, he and I both sat down and kind of filled out his application and sent it off, and he just passed last week. So it's not a perfect thing, because depending on who the evaluator is, it's not always perfect. So, but yeah, I'm not too worried about that. If you think you have the years, we can put it in and get it wordsmith to where it fits the lingo there, and see how they do that. But they do have evaluators that are looking at them all the time. All right, anybody else? All right, well, thank you so much for being on the call, and so I appreciate you being here. And if I can help you in any way, I'd appreciate it. I'd love to be able to do that. We've got the mastermind group. Go to our site and sign up for anything you'd like, the mastermind group or the PMP, and we'd love to be able to get you guys in here. Any last minute questions before I get you out of here? Do you get slides? You don't get slides, but you'll get a video. The video will give you a link from Kim. And so you'll get a video from Kim. Okay. Well, listen, thank you guys for being on here. God bless you. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Dieter, I see you up there, dude. So you guys take care.
Have
Bye,
a great
guys.
holiday, Keith.
All right. See you guys. Bye. Merry Christmas.